My name is Stephen and this is my channel, Heart's Delight Exports. So it's time to have a bit of a garden update. It is well past spring 2021 and it's time to talk about what I've got going in the garden. You can see some lattice work behind me. That's something new. We'll get into that in a minute. First, let's go down to the backyard, have a look around. Alright, so let's start in the greenhouse and talk about what I have going in here. So here in this corner, we have a number of peppers in here. This is a tomato plant from my brother. In the back here, I got a couple of cucumber plants and one over here. They're survivors. They're among the survivors of the May 24th frost. You can see I got a bunch of tomato plants in around here. There's a few more tomato plants over here. Here's my herb section. This is all stuff that I'm starting inside to put outside. I have some parsley over here. They're early attempts that didn't take so well. I have basil in this line, 4 pots of basil. This is thyme in this line. I have two rows of parsley here. They were put in later. They're the same variety as these pots, but these come in a lot better. And this is an unusual success for me this year. This is summer savory. This is something I've tried to grow a couple of other times and had absolutely no luck with whatsoever. Now these bigger pots in here, you can see big leaves. This is all a flower called calendula. I've got a few of these around and I'm hoping that I get to transplant them outside and they'll make a good showing. I'll get to see the flower for it, but I'm not sure how that's actually going to work out yet. These are some more tomatoes. These are maxi bush. So I'm hoping for a nice dwarf kind of tomato plant out of it that has some pretty big tomatoes. Some more in here. This is old coffee grounds that I've mixed up as fertilizer. Now these two in the back, I planted them. They were supposed to be African daisies. And I've planted more in a flower box up on the front yard, up on the front patio. And I haven't seen anything out of them. I'm not sure if that plant, if this or that is either one of them actually African daisy. Because I don't know what the plant comes up like. But I'm letting it grow to see how it comes. Now these are more tomato plants that I started. They're an Italian indeterminate tomato, Gusto Italiano. Supposed to produce a nice large tomato. Big pear shape. Should be good. Now these larger pots here are all gifts from my brother. He started a lot of tomato plants indoors. And you can see that they all have a little red stake marking them. That's to mark that these are cherry tomatoes, and the blue are a beefsteak or a field tomato. Problem is, you see how they're very stunted, right? They don't seem to have much growth. Well, they got hit in the May 24th frost massacre, and most of the growth got killed. You look and see how there's a stalk there in the back that's all cut down. This one's same thing. The stalk is here, but it's all cut. That's because all these nice big tomato plants were getting about a foot tall or so. They were doing really nice, and the frost hit them, and all of that growth got killed. All the water inside, not instantly, but all the water inside the stems froze and killed off all the growth. Made it wilt. It just went to crap. But perseverance is the lesson there, because I kept the plants going. I cut the stalks off in hopes that maybe some of this would happen. Remember, this is hopes, not knowledge. I didn't know that this was going to happen for sure. I was just hoping it would. But plants are all starting to come back up. Some of it looks to be sucker growth, which is great in this case, that I'm getting something grow back. Maybe they'll still produce this year. Do you notice anything different about the greenhouse? You see how there's a new little lip under the door? See, there's a brick under the ground here. Me and my daughter and my wife come out one night, and while watching the baby and keeping her out of trouble, we levered up the greenhouse enough so that I could put some new bricks in under the foundation of the greenhouse, and we jacked it up about 8 inches. It's not a lot, maybe, but it means that all this ground here in front of the greenhouse now can be filled in more, and it won't affect the greenhouse too badly. So over here is the main garden. I have some pictures of the garden as I had it laid out and bare earth before anything started coming in. So over here you have some parsley that we planted last year. This is a sedum from my sister-in-law, a gift from her. Save it from composting bin, I think, but well appreciated just the same. Now you see I have lines of these plants down the sides of the garden, this side and over there too. Last fall I planted 40 garlic, and so far as I can tell, at the moment I have about 31 of them come up. Now in here I have 4 beds of potatoes planted. I've changed the orientation this year. Last few years I've been running long lines this way, usually about 3.5, but up until last year I had a line of rocks on the edge here dividing that off, because this part over here was just a recent addition of a herb and flower garden kind of thing. But now it's a much better addition than that, because I took the rocks out. This bad guy over here and one of them that's over here in the wall nearly made me pass out moving it. Hot day and bent over heavy work, it was not a good combination. Here's a few of the turnip transplants that actually survived. And everywhere I look, I have potato starts. Potatoes just freelancing and coming up all on their own. The garlic is looking nice and good. But I've got rows. I planted rows of seeds after, because most of my turnip seedlings didn't make it. I had 3 that survived. 2 and 3. Everything else didn't really make it. But if you look closely, you can see greenery coming up, that the seeds that I planted later are doing okay for the moment. They survived the frost. Well, I waited till after the frost to plant them, but we had a sudden weird snow here just the other day, and it's looking okay. I'm not sure if the camera will pick this up, but in along here there's carrots. So let's go for a wider look. So in this side I have a line of turnips planted. Then I got 2 lines of carrots. And then I got 2 lines of parsnip planted. Now this bed is not that big, but I'm hoping that, I'm hoping I don't have planted too close together. But I'm also hoping that this stuff will come out pretty good. Now, over on this side, I changed the direction of the beds. mostly because I could and I wanted to do it a bit differently so I'd remember what's here. I have lots of little weeds coming in, but if you look closely, you can see in here my beets are coming up. So I have a line of beets here and a line of beets just right there. And because I had it, and because I didn't want to possibly miss out on opportunity, I planted 2 more short lines of carrots and a couple more lines of parsnip over here. That's what I had in this bed. That's what I said in the first one, wasn't it? Turnip, carrot, and parsnip. I have a lot of that this year. I have garlic growing over here on this edge of the bed too. I showed you previously. Now down the outer line here where I got my gate, usually reserved for trellising. There's something that the chickens would like. See the worm stretched out? Down this line, I have cucumbers planted. Usually I plant my peas on that side, but this year I'm doing it differently. I'm changing it up. So far there's no signs of any cucumber growing, but we'll see. I have a lot of this coming up. I think it's some variety of wild kale. Not sure how it got here. Something in fertilizers that I've gotten. A bunch of sheep manure and stuff put in here. But you can see my potatoes are coming up nicely. This is, let's see if I remember. I think this is blue potatoes, the first 2. And the second 2 are white potatoes. We come over here around the chicken coop and secreted in secrecy around here in the back are 10 buckets of potatoes, just to see if I can get a little bit more from growing in the buckets. Thanks to watering, a lot of rain the last week, my rain barrel's nearly full. I don't have a lot of rain collection set up yet, but I had this one set up on the end of the greenhouse, all scrap made eaves troughing and run. Goes down to my barrel. It's ugly, I'm sure the neighbors hate to look at it, but it does work. Let's have a chicken interlude. Hey girls, you want to be famous? So the white chicken is Dolly Parton. And the brown chicken is Shakira. My daughter named her. The white chicken was named when we got her. She was a rehome from somebody else. And she is settled in quite nicely. I had 2 other chickens, Chicken Little and Harriet, and they both passed away during the winter. So I'm still looking for 1 more chicken to add to my coop, and hopefully it'll happen this summer. Now we come around the front of my garden here, and the red bush here and the green here are both apple trees. I managed to salvage this much from the front of the yard, where I had a few apple trees growing, and I'm expecting them to be destroyed when city council comes through and puts in sidewalks and retaining walls and stuff. Now this glorious thing is a red bleeding heart. My youngest daughter loves getting hold to it and trying to tear it apart. Down here we have oregano, and a lot of it. I'm thinking I need to cut this back and start saving some of it. I have a lot of chives. And not sure if this is chamomile or if it's daisies or what. I had a bunch of flowers given to me by my father-in-law, and I planted them, and I promptly forgot all about what they were and where they were exactly. And yeah, they're growing nuts because I haven't been weeding any of the flowers just in case it turns out to be something that he had given me and it was intentional. But I have chives here and chives there, and I still have bottles of chives in the cupboard. There's a white bleeding heart here in the back. This one I know my father-in-law gave me, but I don't know what it is. There's also one over here and a couple in among the oregano and the bleeding heart. There he is. This guy here. I don't know what it is, but I'm pretty sure it's one that he gave me. Now this might be a bit of a weird sight for you. I have my lettuce completely covered over with this stupid white fabric. I got this stupid white fabric from the Dollarama. It was billed as some sort of netting to put around shrubs and stuff. It is a little bit hardier than toilet paper. But on the plus side, this is my 2 lettuce bins, and you can see all the greenery coming up. Granted, a couple of them are potatoes. I don't know what color because they came from the compost, but I have lettuce coming up, which is nice. I wouldn't have had this lettuce if it wasn't for this stupid white fabric, because it's the only thing keeping the birds out. Now, there's a nice bit less activity in here, but I'm still trying for more lettuce and spinach in here. I had planted 3 packs of spinach in here and a Boston, no, it wasn't Boston, some sort of loose leaf lettuce I discovered in my seed box. Not sure what it was right now, but I'm keeping the fabric on there for another little while until I figure the birds won't eat all of the seedlings right off. Because that's what happened last year. Now this is new. This wasn't here before. These half barrels are an experiment. They had epoxy resin into them. And I cut the barrels open and I burned out what little was left of the epoxy resin, and I filled them full of compost and soil. After I ground them out, I took a grinder with a wire wheel onto it and ground out whatever was left of the epoxy that was burnt mostly to ash, but still I ground it just to be sure. And now you can see I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, barely surviving there, but number 5 is still alive technically. 6 and 7 green zucchini plants. Now, I put wood around the edges that are closest and most accessible, so that on the off chance that my wife or my daughters got up here, the sharp edges of the metal would be covered and made less accessible to hurt somebody. Now, you can see my collection of barrels. This one has green beans planted in it. They're starting off pretty rough. You can see I got a lot of insect damage so far. I'm not so happy about that so far. These guys are getting eaten up before they're even getting their first leaves out. But considering all the beans that I had planted in here, I had planted them pretty thick. I'm not seeing a lot of beans coming up. Hopefully they're just delayed. But I do come out and look. I try not to bother them. I try not to handle them or poke at them. But sometimes I can't resist. funny enough, this is another pot of beans. I don't remember which is which now, but one of them was green and one of them was yellow. And I'm not sure which one I planted where. But this one is coming along better. And I don't know if because it's getting less sun, or it's just drainage, or there's something else involved. But it is doing better. It's less eaten by insects anyway. Now this barrel is one of my barrels of peas. I put a bunch of sticks into it as a trellis to try to give it something to climb before it even gets started. This one I didn't do that to see how much of a mess it'll get into, really. Now this one, this pot is supposed to have scarlet runner beans. You can actually see one of the seeds. And it hasn't done anything. The thing is, I had bought these seeds a couple of years ago, so they might have been dead seeds, but they've never managed to produce anything. I've never gotten a scarlet runner bean to sprout and grow. But these peas and those peas are survivors from last year. The peas I grew last year, I saved a fair number of them actually, and I planted the two of them here. If I don't get anything in this pot fairly soon, I think I'll get some more of my pea seeds out and plant in this pot, just to have more peas. So it turns out my youngest daughter likes them. Now here's another one of my half barrels. I had 2 barrels in total. I gave them the same treatment. This one is being reserved, and the one on the other side of the greenhouse is both being reserved for tomato plants. Now, that's in progress. That's not exactly a prototype, but it's a rock sieve to try to sift out some of the dirt that I'm digging up. As you can see, I have a nice layer of dirt all around my pots. This is uneven, marshy ground here in the back of my yard, very much on the very edge of my property, and it needed something better for me to walk on. I need to put some more here yet, but that's related to another project. Bag of leaves for the chickens, composter, 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 composter. Here in the front of the greenhouse, I have 2 of these barrels. They're also going to be planted with tomatoes. This one I've already started putting out tomatoes into it. This guy was planted a few days ago into here, or I should say transplanted a few days ago into here. Another one. He's got a friend just in case. And another one here on this side. I took the hole saw to a lot of these divots in the barrel and opened them up. You can see it well here on this one. I put a nice big cut into it because I found that a lot of the tomatoes were hard to transplant in last year, and this will make a big difference. The only thing is, of course, that it's going to make it harder to keep soil in it. I'm already finding some of that with these guys, that without the lip of plastic bent in, the soil falls out fairly easily. There's my other half barrel reserved for tomatoes. And now we come to my strawberry patch. It might surprise you to know that this was only started last year. Last spring, my brother called me up and said, "Hey, there's a guy in the road selling strawberries. You know, the guy that got the U-Pick strawberry farm in there? Yeah, he's selling strawberry plants. 25 plants for $10. You want some?" I said, "Well, I guess I can get a bed put together for strawberry plants. I'll take 10, sure. I'll take 25 plants for $10. That sounds okay." So I took the plants and I planted them. And they all started setting off runners. And I controlled the runners and mostly put them in pots or arranged them to go different spaces in the garden. And it used to come to this rock. And I said, well, it doesn't seem like I got enough room. And I can expand it a little bit this side. I had the compost. I got some soil. Okay, I can do that. And I expanded it a little bit and filled it in. And this spring, my brother called me again and said, hey, there's a guy up the road that's thinning out his strawberry patch. You want some extra strawberry plants? I said, well, I guess I can make some room. So a couple of these guys in here somewhere, I'm not sure which ones, are transplants from that man's strawberry patch. The green milk crate was an effort at transplanting some more. Those didn't survive the frosts, unfortunately. The May 24th frost was in time to catch them. Oh, I still got one or two of them growing. But the snow the other day might have done for some of the others. But I have them planted in the sides there to try to grow out through. This side and this side would give the most sun exposure as the sun passes over them. But the one up on top died. I actually had this one stacked on top of this one, actually, so I didn't have... Yeah, that reminded me. Now that I remember, I didn't have one planted in here because this milk crate was stacked up on top of it. I was trying to plant out through the sides. That didn't seem to be working so well. So in anticipation of more runners from these guys, I said, I got enough room here. I'll take the tower apart, and when a runner comes available, I'll plant them in the top of there. I can get maybe 3 plants in the top of that guy. We'll see how that goes. The barrel of strawberries is looking pretty good. So you can see I have lots of strawberry flowers out. This bucket of strawberry plants is doing really well. Makes me wish I had another bucket. Now this is some of the flower pots that my youngest daughter likes. Mostly because she likes to pull the flowers out and kill them. So these are a bunch of flowers that I planted last fall. You can check out the video in my gardening playlist. There was a lot of tulips come up. You can see the dead heads. I have some pictures here. Of various colored tulips that did come up before they all went like this and kind of died off on me. Been letting them go, but it's time to deadhead them a bit and hope that perhaps the bulbs will put the energy into saving themselves and maybe they'll grow again for next year. But so far, not too many flowers here. Here's some more of that ugly white fabric. This time, it's being used as much to keep my daughter out of it as anything else. Because she likes playing in the dirt, and this is a big bucket of dirt to her. Worst, it's right on the proper level for her. As you can see, the best thing I have growing here, apparently, is potatoes. That's not the intention, though. Various spots here is spinach. I had 6 packs of spinach and I planted them all, and a lot of them are in here. But I have a few little holes like this tucked away so that I can plant some of that calendula in these little crevices this way. Up here on the side of my house is my new planter. This guy took me a few pallets to make. It is all reclaimed lumber. It is all pallet wood. It's not treated. It's not preserved in any way. There is no plastic or lining or anything inside of it. There is a lot of twigs and sticks in the bottom of it, so that I didn't have to fill it quite so much full of dirt. But inside here I have a bunch of pretty flowers planted in the front, so that when they come up, anybody driving by or my neighbors will see nice pretty flowers. But here in the back, these guys, these are a pole bean. They come out, according to the package anyway, they produce a nice long purple string bean that turns green when you cook them. So I'm interested in seeing how that turns out. I'm hoping that I can get them to train up and come all the way up and take over this lattice work. So this is another video for Hartsdale Exports. My name is Stephen. I hope you enjoyed the tour. Hope you'll come back in for my fall video to see how well my garden turned out and see how much vegetables I actually managed to harvest from my little garden in the backyard. You have yourselves a good day, and remember, stay safe. Watch out for COVID out there. Bye.